Hello everyone. Today I'm gonna solo play two decks that I actually enjoy a lot. The first deck was featured in the last video. It is the deck with the Battle Brave Great Creatures, as you can see right here. And if you haven't watched the last video, I recommend you should at least look at it because I go through some of the rules of the game on that video. So this video, I'll also go through some of the rules, like the basic rules starting the game, things like that, so you know what's actually going on. But I'm gonna choose. I'm playing solo playing these two decks. The deck that I played in the last video with the Great Creature, the Battle Brave Great Creatures, and this deck. This is an older deck. It doesn't. All the cards in this deck are available right now. You know, on the official website of the game. While the cards in this deck, most of them are available. The only difference between this deck and that deck, depending on what's available, is that this deck actually has the I'm playing with the Battle Brave Great Creature like I just showed you. And these cards, these creatures are from the upcoming expansion, Knights of Themis. So they're not available right now since I'm working on them. So I'm just play testing them to see how they work. I already know how they work, but I like playing the game. So it doesn't hurt to add a few new cards to it, and you'll see how it plays again. So I'm gonna start with how to start the game off. So at the beginning of the game, if you don't already have a deck made, you choose cards. This is obviously gonna take a while. You order your cards online. You look through you order your cards online or the deck online. You look through the cards you want. You take the cards you don't want out. There can only be a maximum of 40 cards in a minimum of 40 cards in the deck. So once you've already hit that minimum, your deck is pretty much good unless you want to add more things to it. So each player at the start of the game, each player looks at their decks, decide whether they want to add or remove cards from their decks. Once they're satisfied, they choose a basic domain for that. Obviously, when you're making a deck, the domain matters a lot. Excuse me. The domain matters a lot because it really decides what options you have when you're playing certain cards, like formation spells. As formation spells have extra effects that are indicated at the bottom of the cards. They're usually indicated somewhere here. So these are all extra effects. And these effects, you'll notice that there's a wind, water, and lightning that starts the effects. The wind, water, and lightning corresponds with the domain that you have on the board. As you can see, this domain has a water subtype, which corresponds with the water in the last effect that starts with water, the hyphen. That means that when you play this card on the board, after the primary effects, after you've met the requirement of the primary effect, which is usually the top effects, before the entry keyword, it's hard to see, but almost every card in the game will have this layout where there will be words, effects at the top of the card in the effects description box, and then after those effects, you'll see an entry keyword with the number. That number indicates that you can only choose one of the below effects that either starts with the domain requirement or do not. Effects that do not start with the domain requirement have a bullet point, which I might have here. Yeah, this one doesn't have it, but heroes have it. So as you can see, these effects do not have a domain requirement. You can see the entry. You can see the entry keyword right there. This one does not have a primary effect. The entry keyword is the primary effect, but It doesn't really have a. It doesn't really. No, the entry keyword doesn't count as a primary effect. It's not affected by anything that affects primary effects. But the entry key after below the entry keywords, you see the two bullet points. Each bullet point represents one secondary effect or ability of that card. And the domains, how the domains work is, like I said before, the attribute on that domain determines what option you can choose when you play the card. So if you have a water attribute subtype domain on the board, you can only choose a water option when you play this card. So that's how the domain works. So at the start of the game, you get to put one basic. You have to put at least. You have to put one basic domain on the board before the game can start. Each player must choose a basic domain. There's a wind domain, a water domain, lightning, fire. Well, fire is an upcoming expansion. So right now there's only 5 domains: wind, water, lightning, wood, and light. Wind, water, and lightning are primarily the domains that you see in the first 2 expansions of the game, which is the Rise of the Brewing Clan and the Witness to Divine Comedy. The Wood and Light domain comes in with the Gothar's Welcoming expansion. So if you want to play that, those 2 domains are the primary domains of that expansion of those cards. So that's how domains work. At the start of the game, after you decide what deck you want to play, and you're satisfied with the deck you have, you put a domain of your choice, if you're choosing, on the board in front of you. And you should at least, when you put a domain, you should at least give enough space for there to be cards behind the domain and for there to be cards in front of the domain. As cards, there are cards, crystals and heroes must be played behind the domain. Creatures can only be played in front of the domain. And then formations, pretty much everything else other than creatures, crystals, and heroes must be played here beside the domain. So that's pretty much that's the layout of the game. There are like three rows for each player where they can play cards, and with those 3 rows signify the battlefield. Cards within those 3 rows on any player's side is on the battlefield. Cards outside those 3 rows are not on the battlefield. Those 3 rows are like sub zones, mini zones within the battlefield, while the battlefield is an entire zone that covers all the sub zones on each player's side. So if there are 5 players, all the 3 zones that they have will be considered the battlefield. So that's how the battlefield works. So you choose your deck, you choose your domain, then you shuffle your deck. After you've chosen your domain, you shuffle your deck. So I'll just shuffle this a little bit. Hopefully the cards are mixed up. Nope. So you shuffle your deck, and then you place it on your left side, behind your domain, on the left on your left side behind the domain. You can place it anywhere, depending if you don't have space on the table. But I just prefer having it on the left hand side because it's easier. That's so you don't really have to follow when it comes to the deck and the mortuary, you don't have to follow the image that I have on the instructions documents, but the zones on the battlefield should be followed, since it pretty much makes it easier for you to know what cards are where, what type of cards are where, during the game. So your deck is on the left, your mortuary is on the right, but we'll talk about the mortuary card during the game. Mortuaries are where your cards that are removed from the battlefield, die from the battlefield, or are discarded from your hands go. So it's pretty much your discard pile. So after you've shuffled your deck, and every player has shuffled their decks, they place their decks down, and then they choose what players goes first. Usually, you can pretty much use a random number generator for this, or you can just flip a coin. decide who goes first, or you can throw a dice, depending on how you want to do it, or you can just choose a person to go first. It really doesn't really matter. And if there are only two players playing at the start of it, at the start of a game, before that, I'll get to that. Never mind. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So once you've already chosen what player goes first, each player draws 9 cards. So I'll just pick this up. So I just pick this up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So each player draws 9 cards to as their starting hand. If you don't like your 9 cards for this, I have 2 crystals. Maybe you can see it. I only have 2 crystals, which are played here behind the domain. And I really don't have any. I don't have anything else to. I don't have anything else to play while I have those 2 crystals that are pretty much effective. I have a few 2 costs, but these 2 costs are not really they're formation spells. And formation spells, after their effects have been performed on the battlefield or on the game board, they're temporary cards that after you place them to play them, they go here. Since they're neither creatures, crystals, or heroes, they go here. So after you play them, once all their effects have been performed, like say if this card that says give a creature quick strike, that's what it says at the top. Give a creature quick strike. Once you've given the creature quick strike, this card ends. It must be placed in your mortuary or your discard pile. So they're pretty much just temporary effects. And at the start of the game, I would prefer having either more crystals or something that I can, something more permanent, like a creature. I have 2 creatures. One is a 6 cost and one is a 9 cost. And these creatures, they aren't bad since they have the destined keyword. That means that at the start of, as long as I show this card to every player, it goes down by 1 each turn that is in my hand. So once I show this card to every player during my same turn, it'll be 5. This card will cost 5. This card that costs 6 right now will cost 5 crystals to play. And then during the next player's turn, it'll go down by 1 to 4. Then when it comes back to my turn, it'll go down by 1 again to 3. So, but that's 3, but I only have 2 crystals. So I don't want to bank on the fact that I might draw another crystal, or maybe I should. And this card, yep, it's from this deck. Okay. So I might just keep this hand just in case, because it's actually not that bad. The only fact of it is that there's only 2 crystals, so I'm just I'm cutting it a bit close with it, but I'll take the deck. So once a player chooses their deck, they're fine with their hand. They just wait until every player is has decided to keep their hand. So I draw 9 cards again for the other deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. This hand is also pretty good. But how it works is if you're not satisfied with your hand, you can mulligan. That means you pretty much just shuffle this your hand back into your deck, then draw 1 less card. So I drew 9 cards the first time. If I wasn't satisfied with my hand, I'll shuffle this card back into the deck, shuffle both of them together, and then draw 8 cards next. If I'm still not satisfied, I'll do the exact same thing again, then draw 7 cards. So you can keep doing it until you can draw 0 cards. So you have no choice but to, at some point you have to be satisfied with it, or you have no cards left in your hand. So that's it. I'm satisfied with my hand. I like it. And I'm just gonna keep it somewhere here. Hold on a second. gonna keep it here. So all players have decided to keep their starting hand, and then the first player that starts the game doesn't get to draw a card. If there are only 2 players playing, the first player that starts the game doesn't get to draw a card. If they're more than 1 player, then they can draw a card at the start of the turn. So at the start of a player's turn, the player untaps all the cards that are tapped on their side of the battlefield, then draws 1 card, unless it's the starting turn of the game. So since I'm going first, I won't draw a card. And since I already showed I have 2 crystals, I'll have to play 1 crystals because cards have a crystal cost located in the top left. No, my right. Top right of the card. And the crystal cost indicates the amount of crystals on your side of the battlefield that must be tapped to play the card. So this card has a 2 crystal cost, and you can if you notice the blue crystal behind the number, that indicates that it requires a mana crystal cost, which is a crystal. It's a mana crystal card. Oops, sorry about that. So the mana. This is a mana. This is the card type of the card. This card is a mana crystal. So, as opposed to a metro crystal. So a mana crystal is required to play a mana crystal cost card. A metro crystal can be used to play any card that requires any crystal. So if I play this down, I can still play this 2 crystal cost card, this 2 mana crystal cost card by tapping this, because this one actually represents 4, which states, may not be able to see it. It states it right here that it requires 4 crystals. So you may tap this crystal to produce 4 metro crystals that you may use until the end of turn. So how that mechanic works is you don't really have to, since it's a hassle to, it says produce 4 crystals. So when you tap this before you play your card, 4 crystals, 4 basic metro crystals will be required on the board. But since it's a hassle to create a crystal every time you want to tap this just indicates 4 metro crystals. So if you tap it, it indicates that you have 4 metro crystals that you may use to play cards. While each one here represents 1 mana crystal. So that's how the crystals work. And the crystal cost here, you can see it has a 3 crystal cost. That means this is an advanced crystal. Advanced crystals as opposed to basic crystals that do not have any crystal costs on them. So you can just play this one for free. All advanced crystals have a crystal cost. So you need crystals already on the board before you can play them. So that's how advanced versus basic crystals work. And during the game, you can only play 1 crystal, whether the crystal is a basic crystal or the crystal is an advanced crystal. You can only play 1 during your turn until the start of your next turn. So that's how crystals work. So I drew my card. And also just the last part. This is a mana metro crystal. You can use it to play any cards that require any crystals in the game. While this with the red crystal behind it is a metro crystal cost. So this has a 3 metro crystal cost. That metro crystal cost indicates that you can play this card using any crystal that's on your board. It could be a mana crystal, it could be a metro crystal, or it could be, this is also a mana crystal, or it could be a aura crystal or an ether crystal or any other crystal, any upcoming crystals in the game. You can use it to play any card with a metro crystal cost, as opposed to a metro crystal that can be used to play any card with any crystal cost. So that's how it works. So this player starts the turn, puts 1 crystal down, in portrait position, versus landscape position, which is a tapped version, which is a tapped position. The card placed upright is in an untapped position orientation, and the card turned sideways is in a tapped orientation. So untapped versus tapped. To indicate that you're using this crystal, you must tap it. So you have to turn it to to a landscape orientation. So this all cards that you play enter the battlefield in its untapped portrait position unless it indicates otherwise. So this crystal, for example, tells you this crystal enters the battlefield in a tapped orientation. So after you play this crystal, you must turn it tapped. And while the crystal is tapped, you can't tap it to play cards. It has to be untapped before you can tap to play cards. And you can only untap a crystal at the you untap every crystal at the start of your turn. So even though it's tapped this turn, if I play this turn, coming by the start of my next turn, I'll be able to untap it to play more cards if I use it. If I choose to use it. So I play a crystal. I have nothing else to play because you can only play one crystal each turn. And then the next player's turn, the player draws a card. And since it has nothing else, nothing to untap, he just draws a card. And he plays a crystal as well, a mana crystal. So that deck has a different set of great creatures. So as you can see, this is strong. This creature doesn't have any effects, but the stats of the creature, which is 2 attack points, 1 followed by 1 defense points, and then 2 health points. This is increased as opposed to the base stats of the creature. See this creature? This is the exact same creature, a Buren mercenary, but these are the regular stats of the creature. So most copies of this creature has the 1 attack points, 1 defense points, and 1 health points, as opposed to this that has 2 attack points, 1 defense points, and 2 health points. And you can see that they have different words in the title belt of the card, because each creature has multiple titles, and each title has its own effects. This title lets the creature lets you draw cards when you play this creature. The Warcry effect activates after you play this creature, and then it pretty much, once it activates, you get to do what is indicated directly after it. So that's how great creatures work. So, and you can only have three copies of a creature. You can see that there are 3 of them. You can only have 3 copies of one creature on the board in your deck, in your starting deck. Those creatures you can see how they all vary. This is a strong. This is a prophet. Then this is the weaker version of a strong. This is the common version of a strong, as opposed to the rare version of a strong. And you can see how the stats are slightly different. So this one has 2 attack points, 1 health point, 1 health point, 1 defense points. This one has 2 attack points, 1 health points, and 2 defense points. So you can build your deck however you want. You can have all 3 of these creatures be prophet creatures. You can have them be this version of the creature, or you can have them be this version of the creature, and you can mix and match. So you have a lot more options. You have a lot of options when it comes to creatures and how you want to build your deck. So this card plays a crystal, and then plays the formation spell called Windbreak. And what the primary effect of this spell states slant 1. And that slant 1 pretty much means look at the top 1 card of your deck. Since it indicates 1, So you look at the top one card of your deck. If it says slant 4, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. So it says slant 1, so you play it here in the command zone of the battlefield as opposed to the creature zone and the crystal zone. You play it here, you do what it states. Slant 1, I look at the top card of my deck. Then I decide, do I want to keep it at the top or move it to the bottom of my deck? And I look at my hand and I don't have any more crystals. So I only have one more crystal, and this is an advanced crystal that has a crystal cost. So, and this one represents 4 basic mana crystals. So right now, if I play this next turn, I'll have 5, overall total mana crystals. And I'll be able to play this card, but I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in my hand. And I really don't. I just want more crystals so I can play more cards, later on. So I'll put this at the bottom of my deck. And since I've already done that, I've done what it stated. I can choose a secondary effect since it says entry 1. So I can choose a lightning, wind, or water effect. Since I have a wind domain, I can only choose the wind option. But the wind option has a different requirement. It says if you control 6 or more human creatures, this spell gains +1 spell effect. And what +1 spell effect means is pretty much the primary effect, which is at the top, is the spell's effect. While these ones that you get to choose or not, you don't have to choose any of the effects if you don't want to, and any of the secondary effects if you want to. These secondary effects are also called the ability. And the abilities can only be affected by effects that say +1 spell ability, things like that. This one says +1 spell effect, so that indicates that it's the primary effect. So if it gives it +1 spell effect, instead of slanting 1, you'll be slanting 2, since it just increased the number. Any indicated number except damage dealing numbers can be increased by spell effect. So this one says slant 1, so if I had met the requirement, I'll be able to slant 2 instead. But I didn't. So I just placed this in my mortuary since I've already done what it was indicated for me to do. Let me take this back. I forgot to tap to play it. But you tap a card, crystal, and this you can see it has a 1 mana crystal cost. And that's it. So I've done all I can. I put this down. Then I pick this one up. Then I draw a card. Next player's turn. I don't have any crystals to untap or any cards to untap. I just draw a card. And now I have another crystal. I play it. Oh yeah, I forgot to use the effect of this creature, which is show it to all players. This creature, which has not formidable, destined, which pretty much it's a keyword that states that if you show this card, as I said before, if you show this card to all players, each turn that it's in your hand while exposed. So when you show it to all players, the card is exposed. It's in an exposed state. Once you show it to all players, it's in an exposed state. So players can look at that card at any time. They can choose to just say, hey, I want to look at the exposed card in your hand. And you have to show it to them once you've exposed it. So if you expose the card while it's in your hand exposed, you lower its crystal cost by 1 each turn. So this turn, I'll lower the crystal cost by 1 since I've exposed it. So now it has a 5 crystal cost in my hand. And I have nothing else to play because there's nothing really much for me to do. So I'll end the turn. And then the next player's turn, this thing goes down by 4. The crystal cost that I just showed you earlier goes down by 4 now. Goes down to 4 now. And then this one draws a card. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Untap. And then draw a card. And I still haven't drawn a crystal, but I already have a crystal in my hand. So I'll play this crystal. I'll tap this. So this crystal enters the battlefield in a tapped orientation as well. So I tap it. And you can notice that, like I showed you before, that there are different colors. Some have the same color. Some cards, even though they're different cards, they have the same color scheme, and others have a different color scheme. I said it in the previous video, so if you want to watch that, you can. But I'll just say it here again. You can only have things like 8 rare cards on your side of the battlefield. So once you've reached the maximum of 8, before you can play a card, you have to. I mean, after you play a card, before the card can be placed on the battlefield, where you can, trigger its effects and perform its effects, you must decide to remove one of the other cards with the same color on your side of the battlefield and place it in your mortuary. So you have to start replacing cards once you've reached the maximum number of allowable cards with the same color on the board. So you can only have 8 rare cards that have this color scheme. You can only have 4 unique cards with this color scheme, and there aren't any brilliant cards. You can only have 17 common cards with this color scheme. And basic cards do not have that limitation. Basic crystals, for example, you can have as many basic crystals as you want. Same with basic or regular creatures. You can have as many regular creatures on the battlefield as you want. Regular creatures usually don't have any effects. Like every creature that you see, there's a regular version of this creature, of this great creature with strong. The regular version is just a Bureau mercenary with the 2 crystal costs, with no keywords, with no words here, just a blank belt, and then with a 1 attack points, 1 defense points, and 1 health points. So that's pretty much what a regular creature version of this card is. And the regular creature, you can have as many regular creatures as you want, like I said it before. So that's the limitation of the game. So even though you can put a lot of powerful cards in your deck, the more powerful cards you put in your deck, so the more brilliant cards, which is the higher version of a unique card. It's like a tier higher than this. So it goes from common, rare, unique, and brilliant. Common, and then rare, and then there's a unique version of this, which has this color scheme. Then there's the brilliant version of it. The brilliant version of it is obviously going to be the most powerful version, but you can only have 2 brilliant cards on your side of the board. So those 2 brilliant cards, you really have to decide what is important in your deck. Because if you have a lot of brilliant cards in your deck, it's hard for you to play cards because you're going to be replacing a lot of the cards. You play one card, you replace it. You play another card, you replace it, and it's very easy for you to lose the game when you're not having it. You have nothing to protect you, and nothing's really happening because you're removing your cards every time you play a card. So you really have to have a healthy balance between healthy ratio between common, rare, unique, and brilliant cards in your deck. You can probably get away with putting more rare cards in your deck. Since they're 8, you can have a maximum of 8, and also you can have a lot more freedom putting common cards in your deck because there's 17. You can have a maximum of 17 cards. So that's pretty much how it works. You can sacrifice power for quantity, or you can satisfy quantity for quality. So that's pretty much just how the game works. So I play this down, I tap it. Both of the enter the battlefield. I've already tapped this one. This enters the battlefield tap. So I turn it sideways, and I have nothing else to play because I've already used all my resources. I go to the next deck. I draw a card. These are still untapped. And I play my third. Oh yeah. 3. This card goes down by 3. And I forgot to do this one as well. You can do as many as you want. If you have a lot more battle brave creatures in your hand, you can expose all of them all at the same time. There's no there's no limit on how many cards you can expose from your hand, but you can only expose the cards that tell you that you can expose them. You can just show your hands to your opponent players, but it's not really considered exposed unless the effects actually tell you to expose the card. If your opponent accidentally sees your card, from your hand, it's not considered exposed. So that's how it works. So I expose this card. I expose this card this turn, 9 cost. So now it's an 8 cost this turn. Next turn will be a 7. Next player's turn will be 7 cost. Then it'll be a 6 cost. And this card now has a 3 cost. And since I'm going to play crystal, my third crystal this turn. So now I have 3 mana crystals, and this has a 3. This right now is a 3 metro crystals. So I can play this card using mana crystals simply because this metro indicates that I can use any crystal to play it. The metro crystal cost means I can use any crystal to play it. Sorry about that. And since I've already played a crystal this turn, this one also has a 3 metro crystal. I won't be able to play it simply because I've already played a crystal this turn. So I tap all 3 of them to play this, and this has 4 attack points, 2 defense points, and 2 health points. And how this works is something that is very important that I forgot to mention at the start of the game is that players start the game with 0 attack points, 0 defense points, and 27 health points. So players should write that down, 0, 0, 27, or just write 27 health points down. So it's easier for you to keep track, because unless you're playing a hero, unless you have a hero on the board, there's very few things that can increase your the attack points and defense points of players, but there are a lot of things that can reduce the health points of a player, like the attack points of creatures. So when a creature attacks you, so to attack, after I play this creature, it has the keyword quick. It has the keyword quick. That means it can attack the turn I play it. So I play this creature, I tap 3 to play it, enters the battlefield untapped because it doesn't state that it enters the battlefield tapped. And then I tap it to indicate that I'm attacking with it. So after I tap it to indicate I'm attacking this player with it, you have to choose what player to attack with each creature. Then if the player has any creatures on the board that are in an untapped orientation, those players, oops, sorry about that. So what I was saying is, once a creature is attacking, like this creature is attacking, if an enemy creature, if an opponent player has a creature that's in an untapped orientation, so that didn't attack during this player's last turn, or is currently untapped, the player can decide to block this creature with that creature. So when it blocks this with that creature, they deal their attack damage to each other. So this 4 attack damage will be deducted first. They deal their attack damage, which is the attack points damage, which is 4 AP. So both these creatures have 4 AP, so they can deal 4 attack damage, and they have 3 defense. This one has 3 defense points, which is right here. Sorry, 3 defense points and 4 health points. The 3 defense points acts like a shield against damage, certain damages, and it's deducted from the damage before any damage can be deducted from a card's health point. So when this creature blocks this attacking creature that was stated to attack that opponent player, instead of attacking the opponent player now, they'll be attacking each other. So if this one deals 4 damage to this creature, and this creature deals 4 damage to this creature. You can see how this creature has 2 defense points and 2 health points with an overall, number of 4, which is exactly equal to the 4 attack points that this creature has. So when you deduct the 2 defense points from the 4 attack points that this creature deals to this creature, there'll still be 2 defense points left. There'll still be 2 attack points left that would then be deducted from the health point of this creature. When the health point of a card or player, well, let's talk about a card first. When the health point of a card goes down to 0, that card dies and must be placed in the mortuary pile of its controller or of its player. The person that plays the card gets the card back once the card dies on the battlefield. So these two will block each other, for instance, and then this one will die, let's say, then this one will survive because this has an overall seven total defense and health points, 3 plus 4. So once you deduct the 3 from the attack points, this creature will have 3 health points left until the end of the turn. That 3 health points will remain at 3 health points, and the defense points will remain 0 until the end of the turn, where all damage taken by that creature or by that card will be removed. So that's pretty much how it works. So this creature attacks the opponent player. The opponent player has 0 attack points, 0 defense points. So if the opponent has 1 or more attack points, the opponent player will deal its attack points back to the creature. If the opponent player has defense points, the defense point of that player will be deducted from the damage dealt by the creature. But as a player, player starts with 0 defense points and 0 attack points, 27 health points. Since they do not have right now, this player does not have anything other than 0 for its attack points and defense points. It'll take the 4 damage that this creature deals it. So 27 minus 4, 23. So this player will have 23 health points left. And this creature has a keyword called formidable. That formidable indicates that when this creature attacks, this creature alone by itself cannot block it. There has to be 3 untapped creatures on their players on the player that's been attacked side of the battlefield to block this creature. This creature can only be blocked by 3 creatures simultaneously. It cannot be blocked by 2 creatures. It cannot be blocked by 1 creature. So that's pretty much how this formidable mechanic works. So this creature has quick, destined, and formidable. So 3 effects that pretty much just compound, additionally to this creature. So when this creature attacks, it deals 4 damage. I leave it tapped since creatures can only be untapped naturally at the start of their turn unless an effect tells you to untap the creature or tells you to tap the creature. Generally, when the creature is tapped, it remains tapped until the start of your next turn when you untap every card you've played. So it deals 4 damage. I have nothing else to play since I've already used all my crystals. And that'll be it for this, this player's or this deck's turn. Then the next player untaps at the start of the turn, untaps all cards that they have, then draws a card. And since I have a total of 5 crystals that I can play with, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 9 cards in my hand already. So I'll tap 4 of these. I'll tap this one to give me 4. And I'll use 2 of that 4 mana crystals to play this card called Windfall. And how Windfall works is you can see it has an effect that says, the primary effect that says, give a creature plus 3 attack points and minus 3 health points until the end of your next turn. So until the end of this current player's next turn, if I give this creature plus 3 attack points and plus 3 health points, it'll gain that, plus 3 attack points plus 3 health points until the end of my next turn, where it'll be removed. So how this mechanic works is when a creature or when a card is played against an effect like this, a stat gain effect, 3 plus 3 attack points, that's an effect. That's a stat gain effect. Minus 3 health points, that's also a stat gain effect, even though it's losing, it's giving the card a negative effect. These effects remain on the card permanently or at the time indicated by the effect itself. So this says until the end of your next turn. If this effect didn't have until the end of your next turn, whatever creature was given that plus 3 attack points and minus 3 health points would gain it permanently as long as that creature is on the battlefield. as opposed to effects that say deal damage. Effects that deal damage and attack points that deal damage, that deal attack damage, these must be deducted from the card's defense points first. While this one is added to the card's stats without any deduction happening. So if I give this creature plus 3 health points, so I play it, I decide to give this creature plus 3 attack points and plus 3 minus 3 health points. If I give this creature minus 3 health points, it'll be deducted from the creature's health points directly, ignoring the defense points. So I'll give this creature minus 3 health points, and the creature's health point will be below 0. And as I stated before, a card that has its health points deducted to 0 or below dies and must be removed from the battlefield. So I'll give this creature plus 3 attack points, so it'll have 7 attack points, but minus 1 health points. So I'll remove it from the battlefield. And once the card leaves the battlefield, all effects given to the card are removed. So this card will go back to having 4 attack points, 2 defense points, and 2 health points once it goes back into the battlefield. And its effects will be exactly the way it shows on the paper. It's on the card itself. This card, since I already know the primary effect will kill the card, I do not bother choosing the secondary effect of the card or the ability of the card. You don't have to choose the ability once you play a card. You can just choose the primary effect and just let it go. The card did a job, gave a creature plus 2 attack points, minus 3 health points, and you move into your mortuary. So this is a formation spell. Formation spells are temporary cards. And I've already tapped 2, so I have 3 left. 3 effective mana left. And I have a 3-cost creature. Or if maybe I may play some. Maybe I should play something else. I'll play 2 costs with the remaining 2 from this crystal, and hopefully I get something that costs 1. Since I don't think I've played a crystal this turn, so I play this card that says Warcry. Draw 2 cards. A Warcry effect, like I said before, you play it. It's just like the primary effect of a formation spell. You play it, it triggers immediately. A Warcry effect can only trigger the moment you play it. So I play this card. I draw 2 cards. And I end up drawing a crystal. I play that crystal down, so I haven't played a crystal this turn. So now I have 2 more crystals. Now I have 2 crystals to play. And I decide to play, I guess I'll play the strong version of this creature. So I tap the remaining 2 crystals to play this. And creatures, unlike formation spells that are temporary or semi-permanent cards, creatures are permanent cards. Same with crystals, same with domains, and same with heroes, and pretty much almost everything else, except the formation diagram. So you play a creature. The creature stays on the board permanently until something removes it, until something causes it to die, or it is removed from the battlefield. So these creatures will stay here as long as the game goes on, if nothing happens to them. So I play the 2 creatures. I have nothing else to play. I end my turn. Then the player gets in. I start this turn. This player starts its turn. I draw a card. Oh, forgot to untap. Oh yeah, this one goes down by, that was 2 turns ago. So this, oh no, I already played it, so never mind. This card that I played, that I exposed last turn, goes down by 2 now. Since last turn it went down by 1 to 7. Now it's down by 1 again to 6. Now it's a 6 cost card. But I only have 3 crystals. Since it's a 6 cost card, I'm just gonna tap. I have nothing else to play in my hand. I have these to play, but I really don't want to mess. I really don't want to play them, because if I play 2 costs right now, I'm only tapping. I'm not using all my resources, and I only get rid of 1 creature. But if I play this crystal this turn, next turn I'll have 4 plus 3. That'll be 7 more mana that I'll be able to use, to play more cards. So I'll tap all these cards, all these crystals, then I'll play this card. And you can see how there are two different mana crystals. They have two different images and names, but they still represent one mana crystal because they have the same keyword and the same subtype crystal. They're just two different crystals from two different expansions. So it depends on what basic card pack you buy. Each card pack has its own crystals. Each hero has its own set of crystals. If that hero requires a new set of crystals or not. So that's much how it works. It really doesn't matter what crystals you prefer to use. I mean, what copy of a crystal you prefer to use, as long as it's you're following the rules. So I tap all these 3, and I have nothing else to play this turn. Then this player starts his turn. This one goes down by 1 more. Untap everything that I have. Now I draw a card. Now I have 4, 5, 6. And I drew my hero this turn. And how a hero works is the attack points and the defense points of hero, it's added to the attack points and defense points of a player. So players have a 0 attack points, 0 defense points during the game, at the start of the game. But once you play a hero, you add the attack points and defense points of a hero to your attack points and defense points. Once the hero is removed from the battlefield, the added attack points and defense points must be removed before a new hero can be placed. But right now, the hero costs 7, has a 7 crystal cost, mana crystal cost, and I only have 6. So I'll just tap all 6. Oh wait, no, I can do something else. I'll go wide. I'll tap 4 mana crystals to play this. Prophet, another prophet great creature. A different creature with the same keyword, the same title, will have the same effect, even though they're different creatures. Different creature, different crystal cost, 4 crystal costs. But this is the rare version of this prophet creature. So it has Warcry, draw 2 cards. This is also the rare version, which also has of the prophet great creature. So it also has the Warcry of draw 2 cards. So I tap 4 to play it. I draw 2 cards. So I have 2 crystals left. I tap that. Oh, I don't have to tap the two crystals. I haven't played a crystal this turn. I played this crystal. So now I have 3 crystals left. And I'll just play this. This is an advanced domain as opposed to a basic domain. An advanced domain goes on top of the basic domain of its player. So if I play this card, it'll go on top. And the keywords, the subtypes of this advanced domains goes in effect, while the keywords with the subtypes of this basic domains goes dormant. So while an advanced domain is on top of a basic domain, only the subtypes of that advanced domain can be used to when effects require you to choose an effect. When cards require you to choose an ability of a card. So I play this card domain. It says draw a card. I draw a card. I'm gonna tap all these 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 cards in my hand. The reason why I count is that you can only have a maximum of 9 cards in your hand at the end of a turn. At the end of that turn, if you have more than 9 cards, you must discard cards from your hand until you have 9 cards left in your hand. So this card I still have 8 cards left in this hand, so I'm still good. And before I actually get to the 9th, before I actually end my turn, these two cards will play last turn, so they can't attack. This turn though, they can attack. So I will attack with them as opposed to this card that has quick. That's why it could attack the turn I played it. These cards do not have quick, so they have to wait one turn. They have to wait until their player's next turn before they can attack after being played on the board. So these two cards attack, and they have 2 attack points and one attack points respectively. So I add those 2 attack points together, and I deal 3 damage to this player because there are only 2 options. You can only attack opponent players. You can't attack allies. You can't attack yourself. So I deal 3 damage to this player, and I have 24 health points left, and they remain tapped until this player is starting next turn. I have nothing else to play. I end the turn. Then this card's crystal cost goes down by 1 again to 4. I untap all the cards on my side. I draw a card. I get another one. I expose it. So I show it to all players again. This one goes down by 1, so it's not a 7 cost in my hand. It's not a 7 cost in my hand. Oh, this one's a 4 cost now. And I have 7 crystals that I can use to play it. I have another crystal in my hand, so I'll play this crystal. Now I have 8. So I'll tap 4 to play this one that costs 4 metro crystals. And then I'll tap 2 to play this windfall, this rare version of the previous windfall that I played. This one gives a creature says give a creature +1 attack points and plus 2 attack points and -2 health points, as opposed to this previous one that gives a creature +3 attack points and -3 health points. So I give this creature, sorry about that. I give this creature +2 attack points, so it has 4 attack points, and -2 health points, so it has 0 health points, and it dies. And after I've given the creature the effects, I decide not to choose an ability of the card again, since the creature is gonna die anyways. There's no point. And I move this into my mortuary pile. I have a few more cards to play now. So I'll give this creature, I'll play another formation spell. I'll tap 2 more to play another formation spell, which says, give a creature you control quick strike. It's hard to see. It says, give a creature you control quick strike. And then it has 2 abilities. A wind ability that says the target gains +2 health points until the end of turn, and the water ability that says the target gains, when it says the target, since this is part of this, all the effects are part of this card's effect. So if it says the target, it naturally means the target of the primary effect of a card. If the ability states the target or just any target, it usually indicates, if it doesn't give you a specific target, it indicates the target of the primary effect. If it gives you a specific target, then you can only choose the target that it gives you. So right now it just says the target. So the target by default will mean the primary effects target. So the same target that I gave quick strike, which is this one, I'll choose the water option, which says the target gains +2 attack points until the end of turn. So this creature will now have, instead of 4 attack points, will have 6 attack points. And since I've given the effects that this card indicates, this card goes into his mortuary. Even though those effects are still active on the board, the job of this formation spell is done. It's already given what it's stated it wants. You've already given what it's stated for you to give, and you place it in this mortuary, in your mortuary. So this card has +2 attack points in quick strike. What quick strike pretty much means is, if a creature with quick strike attacks first before a creature without quick strike. So if these two attack each other, This card would deal this card's attack damage will be deducted from the card or player's defense and attack points first, before the card or player's attack points will be deducted from the creature's defense and attack points. If the creature if the creature that is being dealt that doesn't have quick strike that is being dealt damage dies before it can deal its attack points, it will not be able to deal its attack points. So it's pretty much just like a quicker, a faster way to deal damage before your opponent players. So this one has quick strike and plus 6 attack points. It also has quick, so it can attack the same turn that I play it. Unlike these creatures that do not have quick and must wait. Most creatures you have to wait a turn after you play a creature, like I stated before you can attack with it. So this creature, I tap this creature to attack. It attacks the opponent player and deals 6 damage to that player. So the player already had 23 health left, so -6. Now it's down to 17. So I have nothing else to play. The creature gains the quick strike permanently because the card doesn't say that the quick strike effect ends at any point in time. So this card that says give a creature or leader you control quick strike, the card will gain the quick strike permanently. So this creature from now on, while it's on this battlefield, will have quick strike until it's removed from the battlefield. But the +2 attack points will be removed at the end of the turn. So that's it. I have nothing else to play. I end my turn. This player untaps everything on this side of the board, draws a card, plays a crystal, and so I can choose from this side. I can actually choose to go on the offensive and just and try to deal as much damage as I can, or I can go on the defensive and try to stop him from attacking me. I have 17 health points, and this player has 24 health points. 17 is actually a low number because it's pretty easy. It's pretty quick. The damage dealt in this game can add up very quickly. But at the same time, this is also a fast deck that prefers attacking versus defending. But I'll play safe. I have 7. I'll tap 4 to play this. So this is a strong version of this creature. You can see it has 2 attack points, 2 defense points. 1 defense point and 2 health points. While this one has 3 attack points, 1 defense points, and 3 health points. Oops. So I'll play tap 4 to play that. I tap 3 to play Bjorn Apprentice, which lets me draw 2 cards. Draw 2 cards, and I've already played a crystal this turn, so I won't be able to play this crystal. But I can play this card, Call the Wind, which says deal 1 damage to a creature with a crystal cost of 4 or more. So the requirement of this card is a creature with a crystal cost of 4 or more. This card has a crystal cost of 9. This card has a crystal cost of 4. So I can deal 3 damage to any of these 2 creatures. Because it doesn't indicate an enemy creature, which is creatures on your opponent's side, versus, your creatures. It just says a creature, so it could be a creature on my side or the opponent's side. So I play this card, I tap 1 to play it. I deal 3 damage to this creature that has a crystal cost of 4 or more. And as opposed to this effect that gives stat points, so +3 attack points, this card gives a creature +3 attack points and -3 health points. This one deals 3 damage instead. So this damage dealt would be deducted from the card's defense points first, before the damage will be deducted from the card's health points. So I tap 1 to deal 3 damage to this creature. So it'll have 4 health points left after the damage is deducted, and I'll have no more damage left to deal to the creature. But the secondary, this is why the secondary effects are actually very powerful. I have a wind, water, and lightning domain on the board, and it says entry one. That means I can only choose one of these effects. So right now I can choose any of these effects that are on this card, and the effects pretty much state the wind domain effect says give a creature plus 4 attack points, -3 defense points, and -4 health points until the end of turn. The lightning domain effect or ability states give a leader -3 attack points, +3 defense points, and +4 health points. Then the water domain effect states give a creature +3 attack points, -4 health points, and -4 defense points until the end of turn. So I choose the water option. It doesn't matter whether I choose the wind option, because they both give the creature minus 4 health points. This creature only has 4 health points. So I play it. I give the creature the effects. The creature dies. I place this in my mortuary as well. So I've gotten rid of the creatures. I've got nothing else to play. These two were played this turn, so they can't attack. These two were not. So I tap these two again to attack the opponent player and deal 3 damage to it. So the player has 21 health points now. So it's my turn. This player's turn now. Untap all the cards, and this is where an extra rule of the game comes in. You can do this at any time. After you draw your first card, during your turn, you can only do this during the time you're allowed to draw cards naturally. So at the start of your turn, where you're allowed to draw cards, you can only do when you draw cards. So you draw a card, and then you can choose to overload. And what the overload rule states is, after you draw your first card, you can draw up to 9 extra cards from your deck. These 9 cards, you can draw less, you can draw more, but each card that you draw, you can do this multiple times during the game, but you can only do it once. You can only do it at the start of your turn when you draw a card, but you can do it on multiple turns. So you draw 9 cards, or you draw however many cards you want to draw. You draw a card for each extra card. For each extra card that you draw from this overload effect, your following turns, you won't be able to draw a card at the start of your turn. So I drew a card this turn, the natural card I'm supposed to draw, and it's to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I could have played this. I could have done this last turn. I think I did. 5, 7. So what I'm saying is this effect, honored. I was gonna overload, but I don't need to. So I'll show you later on how the mechanic works. But I'll just say how it works right now. So the mechanic is pretty much simple. After you draw after you draw a card at the start of your turn, you can draw up to 9 more cards. But for each card you draw at the start of your following turns, you won't be able to draw a card at the start of your turn. And since you won't be able to draw a card at the start of your turn, you won't be able to overload at the start of your turn either. So you can only overload when you actually can draw cards at the start of your turn. If you can't draw cards, you can't overload. So if I decide to overload 1 this turn, if I decide to draw a card this turn, my next turn I won't be able to draw a card at the start of my turn. So you're pretty much just taking the cards that you're supposed to draw in the future right now. So if I overload 1 at the start of this turn, next turn I won't be able to overload again. But the following turn I can still overload 8. Since you can only overload the maximum of 9 cards during the whole game. So you can only overload, so you can only take a maximum of 9 extra cards from this overload effect during the whole game. But you can take it at any interval you want. You can take 1 card 1 turn, then the next time you can overload, you can take 3 cards. Then the next time you can overload, you can take 1 card until you have a maximum of 9 cards. So that's pretty much how the overload effect works. So you don't have to overload at any point in time during the game. you can pretty much just play the game without overloading at all. So I decided not to overload because I actually have cards that lets me. I have a few cards that let me draw cards, and I can pretty much play my hands this turn, and then use this card, which pretty much states that this, which states the primary effect states discard your hand, then draw 9 cards, and has a 2 Metro Crystal cost. So since I already have a way to draw cards, there's no point penalizing myself by drawing an extra card right now. Then I won't be able to draw a card next turn. So it's pretty much just like a last ditch effect. I mean, last ditch effect. If you have no cards in your hand, but you desperately need cards, you can just overload and draw cards for your future turns right now. Hopefully, you get something that you can survive with. So this card that I showed last turn with the 7 crystal costs, I have to deduct 2 more points, 2 more, the 2 turns have gone by. Now it has a crystal cost of 5. Then I decide to play it. I tap 5 to play it. Excuse me. I tap a mana crystal cost to play this advanced mana crystal cost. Mana crystal with a mana crystal cost of 1. And this one represents 3 mana crystals instead of the previous one. Instead of this one, it represents 4. They're the same cards, but this is the unique version, while that's the rare version. And I have 2 crystals left, and I use those 2 crystals to play this card. Discard your hand, then draw 9 cards. And since I have a water domain, I'll choose the water ability, which states move up to 4 cards from your mortuary to the top of your deck in any order. So I play this card. You can choose which order the primary and secondary effects of a card goes once you've already chosen it. You don't have to do the primary effect first. You can do the primary effect first, or you can do the secondary effect first. It's up to you. So once you've met the requirements, if you've already decided what effect you want to choose, whichever order you want to play them, you can. So I decide to move 3 cards to the top of. I guess I just move 4. I decide to move all 4 cards from my mortuary to the top of my deck. Then I discard my hand. Now I'm doing the primary effect. I discard my hand, then draw 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that I've done this, I place this in my mortuary. I forgot to tab this. Now I have nothing else to play, but I have 2 more Battle Brave great creatures with a 9 crystal cost. So I expose these 2 creatures again. So now they cost 8. And I have nothing else to play. Now end my turn. So this player untaps everything that it has. I draw a card. And this is how a brilliant card looks. So this is how a brilliant card looks. So it has a more golden yellow, look to it. While the unique card, as stated before, it looks like this. You can only have two brilliant cards on your side of the board at any given time. So this crystal, it states this crystal enters the battlefield under your control in an untapped orientation. So if I tap this 2 crystals to play this creature, to play this mana crystals, I'll be able to play it again. I'll be able to use to play cards this turn because it enters the battlefield in an untapped orientation. And this crystal represents 4 extra mana crystals. So what that means is this crystal itself represents 1 crystal, but since it produces 4 extra mana crystals, it actually represents 5 crystals, as opposed to this creature that only produces 1. That only gives you, that represents 4. So this crystal represents 5. This crystal represents 4. So this is 5, 4, that's 9, 10, 11. So I have 11 overall crystals, mana crystals to play with. I play my hero. That costs, I tap 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I tap 9. No, I guess I don't. 5, 6, 7. I don't have to tap 9. So I tap 5, 6, 7 to play my hero, which states if you control a wind domain, entry 2. So if you control a wind domain, you can choose 2 effects below. If you do not control a wind domain, you can only choose one of the effects, or abilities, secondary effects or abilities below. So since I control wind, water, and lightning domain, I've already met this requirement, which says if you control wind domain. So I choose, since you decide, you can choose 1 or 2. It's up to you. Even though it says entry 2, so you can choose to decide. You can choose to activate 2 of them, or you can choose 2 of them. Or you can also just choose 1 if you want to. You do, like secondary effects or abilities, you really get the option to really do what you want with them. If you don't want to, if you don't want to choose them, you don't have to. But once you've chosen them, you can't deactivate them. So when you choose a card, you're stating that you want the card's effects to be active, so they can perform actions that are stated on them. When it's stated for them to occur. Once you've chosen that effect, each time the requirements for that effect have been met, you can't choose to not activate. You can't choose to not perform the actions of that effect. So, for example, this one says whenever a creature you control attacks, it gains +2 attack points until the end of turn. So if these 2 creatures attack while this is on the board, I can't choose for these creatures to not have 2 attack points. If something happens negatively to the creatures when they gain health points. So when these 2 creatures attack, because I've already chosen that effect, every time they attack, they gain +2 health points. Every time, as long as that card is on the board. So I chose both effects, and the other one is creatures you play gain quick. So from now on, while this card is on the board, any creature that I play from my hand, I'll be able to attack the same turn with it. And this one also states, when you play a card with a critical cost of 7 or higher, untap this crystal. So I played this hero that costs 7. I'll untap this crystal again to now I'll be able to use to play another card. So I can play another hero, because I have 2 of them in my hand, but there's no point in doing that. So instead, I'll tap 6 crystals to play this 6-cost Era's Apprentice. Then draw 2 cards. That's 6. So I have 5 crystals left. I have 5 crystals left. So I tap 1. No, I'll tap 2. I'll tap this one. I tap this one to give me 4. Now I use that 4 to play Era's skill. You see the difference between this? A skill can only be played while the hero that's indicated in the subtype box of the card is on your side of the board. So an Erebraron skill can only be played while the Erebraron hero is on the board on your side. So this skill is a dead card. I won't be able to play it. I wasn't able to play it, in the previous turns, and I've had it in my hand since the start of the game. But now that I have the hero on the board, I'll be able to play this card now. And this card states, expose the top 5 cards of your deck, so show to all players, and then I can choose the secondary effects after I do that. So I play this. I expose the top 5 cards of my deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. I have a leader, a creature, and 2 crystals. And then I choose I get to choose one. Since it says entry 1, I get to choose one of the domain secondary effects. And the lightning secondary effects, it states you may add up to 1 spell cards to your hand from this top 5 cards, then place the rest at the bottom of my deck. I mean, the wind domain ability states I may add a creature card to my hand, then place the rest at the bottom of my deck. Then the water domain effect states I may add a leader to my hand, which I do have right here. So I decide to take the leader card. And this skill, it doesn't state. Usually skills can mimic any other card in the game. They can be played as creatures. They can be played as heroes, domains. But since this skill doesn't tell you what type of card is being played as, it functions like a formation spell. So if the skill itself doesn't tell you that this is you play this skill as a creature, you play this skill as a hero or as a domain, then you play it as a formation spell. So that's like its base, the base card type of a skill is the base functionality of the skill is like a formation spell unless it indicates otherwise. So I play this skill. I add this leader to my hand. Then I place these at the bottom of my deck. Oops. In any order. So yeah, I like the order it's in. And then this one's done. I've already done what it states. And then now I use 2 to play it, so I have 3 crystals left. I use those 3 crystals to play my leader. And the leader is neither a creature, it's not a crystal, it's not a hero. So it goes here next to the domain. So the leader pretty much states entry 1. It doesn't have any primary effects, so pretty much it just goes to the secondary effect. And the secondary effects is a wind domain effect. So this leader's secondary effect or ability can only be activated or chosen if you control a wind domain on the board. If you don't control a wind domain on the board, or if a wind domain is removed, this is a lightning, wind, and water domain, and below that is also it's a wind domain. So if this is removed from the board, I'll already have a wind domain here, so nothing will happen. But if it was placed over here, and I played it, and for some reason this domain that has a wind subtype was removed, this effect, this ability that this card have will be deactivated. That means it won't be able to trigger it or occur anymore. And even if you play another domain in the future with the wind subtype, it will still remain deactivated. Because once an effect is deactivated, it can no longer be activated again. So that's pretty much how abilities work. Once an ability is activated, well, if it's required domain is removed from the board, it will be deactivated. It will remain deactivated while that card is on the board, unless the card is played again. It's removed from the battlefield and then played on the battlefield again. So this wind ability states when you play your first creature each turn, give a leader or a creature you control +2 attack points until the end of turn. So it's just adds an extra attack points to your creatures, to help you push damage. So it's a pretty useful 3-cost leader in the fast-paced deck, or a deck that really requires that just wants to deal damage. This is a great card to have in it. So I played this turn. Leaders are just like creatures. They cannot attack the turn they're played unless they have quick. And this one only gives creatures you play quick. This is a leader, so this leader doesn't get that quick effect because it's not a creature. So this one can attack, 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 and this one died. Oh no, I haven't played that yet. So before I have, oh no, so I can't attack with it. Oops. I've already played a crystal this turn, right? Yep, I've already played a crystal. So I didn't attack with this last turn, which I probably should have, but I didn't attack with the last turn. And I have nothing else to play here. I can attack. If I do attack, let me see if this 5 attack points will kill any of my creatures. And yes, it will. When this one attacks, it'll gain an extra +2 attack, +2 health points. When this one attacks, it'll gain an extra +2 health points. So and it also has 1 defense points. So have an overall amount of 6 health and defense point total. So this one will survive. This one will naturally survive. No, actually it won't. It already have 5. So if it gains an extra 2, it'll be able to survive. So these 2 can survive. This one can also survive. No, this one will die too, because it has 3 total defense and health points right now. So 1 and 2 plus an extra 2 from this hero, it'll make it 5. So this one can die, this one can die, this one can die. But do I really care? Maybe. Let me see. This one has 2 Battle Braves that right now are at 7 crystal costs. So he'll be able to play. I'll be able to play one of them next turn, and I have 17 health. Yeah, so I'll attack with all of them. See if I can, I guess I shouldn't have played the leader then, or maybe I won't attack. I'm not gonna attack. You're just gonna see what's gonna happen. So I just let everything be. I do not attack. Now end my turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 cards. Then this, now it's back to this one's turn. Untaps everything. Draws a card. And I exposed these 2 creatures, or maybe I've already exposed them before. Maybe I haven't. This one is one I just drew. These are now 6 costs. These are now 6 costs. It's hard to keep track when you're playing with, when you're playing 2 different decks against each other when you're doing solo play. So I'll expose this one. I guess I'll just expose both of them. Or maybe I've already exposed them. Maybe I haven't. I don't know if I don't remember if I had or not. So let's just say this is 6. So these 2 are 6. And I have 4. 4. That's 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's if I play, I can play it differently with 4 attack points, 4 attack points. These 2 are 4 attack points, 4 attack points, 4 attack points. That's 8, that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 16 damage I can deal plus this one. So I can either keep them in my hands until next turn and then attack all at once, hoping this one will attack me, or I play some of them now. If I play some of them now, well, I have to expose them anyways. So the other player would know that I have all these cards ready, to slam their health points at any point in time during my turn. So they'll definitely not attack me with all their creatures because they'll be expecting me to be playing, to play this card all at once. So what I'll do is I'll play a crystal. I'll tap 1 to play a crystal. Now I have 4, 8, 9, 10 crystals left. That's 6. That's 5. That's also 11. So I expose this. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe let's just say I didn't expose any of them at all. So I expose all these cards. I don't remember exposing them at all. So I expose all these creatures this turn. So they'll turn to 8, 8, 5, 5. So 8 crystal cost, 8 crystal cost, 5 crystal cost, 5 crystal cost. I have nothing else to play this turn except a windfall, which says give a creature -2 attack points, +2 attack points, -2 health points. I give this one. Now I give this one because this one has slightly more defense points. And that's it. I have nothing else to play. This one goes down to 7, 7, 4, 4. During this player's turn. This player draws a card. I think I did play this last turn, didn't I? I think I did play this, right? No, I did not. I already played it a while back. Okay. I played Crystal. And I forgot to add the two attack points and 2 defense points to this hero, to this player. So this player now has 2 attack points, 2 defense points, and 17 health points. And what do I do now? There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I tap 3. To play another leader, exactly like the previous one. I also choose the same wind domain. And it also gives the first creature I play. So this effect only triggers once the requirement is met. And the requirement states that only when you play your first creature can you give another creature a leader +4, +2 attack points. This creature has 5 total defense and attack points, 2 defense points, 3 attack points. 3 health points. Sorry about that. So it has 5 total defense and health points. So these 2 leaders have 1 attack points, 1 attack points respectively. So if I play a creature now, which I'm going to do, I'll tap 2. I'll tap 2 to play this creature. Now I'll give this leader +2 defense points. Then I give this leader again +2 attack points, and I give this creature again another +2 attack points. So this creature will have an added +4 attack points to its 1 attack point. So it'll have 5 attack points. And I know next turn these cards will be 2 attack points, 2 attack points, 6 and 6. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And how many crystals does this player have? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So he won't be able to play all of them all at once next turn. I hope not. So what I'll do is I'll just attack with this leader. So only that leader will be attacking. You can block leaders with creatures, but you can't block creatures with leaders. You can block attacking creatures with creatures, untapped creatures. You can block attacking leaders with untapped creatures. Leaders can attack and block. Leaders can attack just like creatures, but leaders can be blocked. Leaders can block, and leaders can be attacked by creatures and leaders, but creatures can be attacked by creatures. So I can't choose as this one is attacking, this leader can only attack an opponent player. But as a creature, if this creature attacks, this creature can attack an opponent player or any of these two leaders. So the downside of leaders are they can't block and they can be attacked. Creatures can be attacked and creatures can block. So this leader attacks, and then I can decide, since this one is in an untapped state, I can decide to block that leader or not. If I block that leader, this creature would die. And I don't want this creature to die right now. So I can also attack with this. Since I only have three creatures anyways, I can only block one of these. So I decide to attack with these two as well, leaving only three creatures. So I guess I'll attack with all three of these. Then I'll decide to block this one. Then I'll take this side will take 5, 6, 7 damage this turn. So 21 minus 7, 14. And I have nothing else to play. Actually, I do have something else to play. Let me see. And I could have played it. Oops. But I can play it next turn. There's not really much of an issue. Because I have these two. I have another Call the Wind. And I had a Windfall that could have gotten rid of this creature. So I'll wait until the next turn to play it. And I'll end my turn. I'll end my turn. Then this player gets a turn. The cards cost, now they cost 6, 6, 3, and 3, not 2 and 2. Sorry about that. And I decide to tap 3 to play this. Now I'll tap 6 crystals. This is a Metro Crystal that I just recently played. Enters in the tapped orientation. And I tap 6 crystals to play these two cards that cost 6. That costs 3 and 3. Excuse me. Because now I think I have to start blocking him too as well. Now I have 4, 5 crystals left to play. And I'll tap 2 to play Melody of Wind. Give a creature quick strike. No, I guess I shouldn't give this one then. Because this one has the highest attack points. Since this one has the highest attack points, it'd obviously be the target of any attack removals. Any creature removals first. Because it's the biggest threat. So I'll give this one quick strike. So now there are 2 threats. And that's it. I've tapped 2. Give that one quick strike. This one doesn't have quick strike. And I have nothing else to play. I end my turn. This one goes down by 4. To 5. 5. These two go down to 5. Then my next turn will be 4 and 4. Then this one starts by untapping everything. I draw a card. And now, this is where I can overload. I draw a creature, but since I want to push damage, or since I've seen that there are more creatures on the board, now I might, and the game is pretty much drawing closer to a close, closer to the end. I actually want more cards now. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in my hand. And I can actually get rid of 2 of them this turn. So 3 of them this turn. So I have 2, technically 2 cards in my hand. So I'll end up overloading 9. And let's see where this gets me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to overload 9 now. So for my next 9 turns, I won't be able to draw a card anymore. And if I can draw a card after my 9th turn, so my 10th turn, I won't be able to overload anymore. So I've already overloaded 9, the maximum I can overload at, the maximum number of cards that I can draw from an overload effect. So now I have 9. And I can just tap two of these crystals to play my next mana jewel, which equals 10. I mean 5. So I have 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 crystals that I can. Oh, this one's tapped. So I have 5, 10, 15 crystals that I can use to play cards this turn. So I play this, Call the Wind, deal 2 damage to a creature with a crystal cost of 4 or more, and deal 2 damage to this one. Then I give this creature plus -3 attack, -3 health. Well, actually I deal damage to this one. Then I give this creature -3 +3 attack, +3 attack points, -3 health points, and it dies from this effect. That's one. Oops. Wait, no. I tapped these two previously, so I guess I still have this left. Never mind. So I tapped one of these. Now I have 10, 15, 16. I tap 3 crystals. I tap this one, gives me 4. I use 3 of them to play another Burin Warrior. So now I have 3 of them on the board. And how many rare cards do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have the exact number of rare cards, the maximum number of rare cards that I can have on the battlefield right now. So if I play any other card, any other rare card, whether it's this one or this one, well, you can only have one hero on the board anyways. So if I play this one, it will automatically replace this one. So you have to move this one out before this one can get on the board. But if I play this card now, I have to remove one of these. Because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So what I'll do is I tap 3 to play that. So I have 3 left plus the 10. So that's 13. I tap the remaining one to play. I use the remaining one to play this creature. And then I used Windfall. I guess I could have done with this one. I use Windfall to get rid of this creature. Give a creature +3 attack points, -3 health points. So this creature dies. And since I just played a creature, I can give these three all, trigger, since this is my first creature that I played this turn. So I can give one card, or I can spread that. I'll choose this one. I give this creature, this leader, +2 attack points 1, 2, 3 times. So it's 2 times 3 is, oops, I don't know, 5, 6. No, I don't. Yeah, 6. Sorry about that. 2 times 3 is 6. So this creature gets 6 attack points. So 6 attack points plus 1, that's 7. So this creature gains 7 attack points. I mean, this leader gains 7 attack points until the end of this turn. Then its attack points will go back to 1. And I tap. Well, how many cards do I have in my hand now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 cards in my hand. Tap 5 to play this 3-cost card. So I have 2 cards, 2 crystals left. I use those. I tap another. Oops, I guess it's pretty hard to keep track of. Tap one of these to make it 3. And I play another Fog Forest. So how an advanced domain works is similar to creature heroes. You can only have one advanced domain on your side of the battlefield. So I play this advanced domain. It replaces this advanced domain. Then I draw a card again. Since there's still a wind domain on the battlefield, these ones do not deactivate. So I draw a card. And then I still have 6 left. So I tap 4, I tap 5. So I'll use 4 of those to play another creature that I just drew. Now I have 2 left, 2 mana left. I use one of those manas to slant 1. It's a mana crystal. I'll place it at the bottom of my deck instead of the top. So how the slant effect works: you slant 1, you look at the top card of your top 1 card of your deck. You can place that back at the top or at the bottom of your deck. If you slant 2, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You can place any of them at the top or bottom of your deck. If you slant 3, the same thing. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Place any of them back at the top of your deck or at the bottom of your deck in any order. So I did that. Now I have 6. I could win this turn. I think I can win this turn, or I will win this turn. They all have quick because of this hero. And some of them were played this turn. Some of them were played last turn, so it doesn't really matter that much. These leaders, these 2 can attack this turn, while this one can't, because I just played this one this turn. So that's 6, that's 7, 8. All of them attack. So even if I block with this one, that's still how many damage? I'll block the 6. So I guess I'll block the 3 costs. One of the 3 costs with this one. So this one, only one creature, one untapped creature can only block 1 target. So there are so many targets here, but I can only choose 1 to block. I decide to block this one. So I'll be taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 22 damage. So 14 minus 22. I have no idea what that is. Minus 2, that'll be 12. I think that's 8, negative 8. So 14 minus, so this plays at negative 8 now, and it's eliminated from the game. So this deck wins, and this player loses. So that's pretty much, this deck is actually, I think it's one of the basic decks, standard decks of the game. I mean, one of the starter kits, or one of the starter kits of the game. I think it is. It's part of one of the starter kits of the game. And it's a very, very powerful deck because it can churn out damage so quickly. Every creature you can play now, once this hero's on the board, you can pretty much just fill your hands with creatures. If your hands already have creatures, you can just start playing them and attacking at the same turn, giving your opponent very little chance to do much. This deck is actually a very powerful deck, but yet it can lose very easily to this deck simply because this deck has a lot of low-cost creatures, relatively low-cost creatures, while this creatures, and there's so many of them. You can pretty much just flood the board with creatures and just churn out damage, every turn, and can pretty much overwhelm your opponents. So that's pretty much why I like this deck, why I like this hero, because not only can your creatures attack, it also gives your creatures +2 defense points. I mean defense +2 health points. So when they attack, they have a higher chance of surviving to attack again next turn. So it just makes once you have this hero, that's pretty much why I like heroes. Once you have them down, there's a higher chance for you to win the game. Once you have a hero down, there's a much higher chance to win the game once you have a hero down. This is why I like the game. This is why I like these decks. This is why I create the game, because it's fun to play, and it's also very fun to create as well. So that's it for this video. When a creature is eliminated, when a player is eliminated, all their cards. Oops, I think I'm mixing decks up now. I'm mixing cards up now. Oops. So once a player is eliminated from the game, all their cards on their side are removed from the game as well. So even if it's an opponent player's card on my side, that card will still be removed from the game. It won't be given back to its player, to its owner. It'll just be removed from the game temporarily until all until the whole game ends. Then you can give the cards back. So that's it. I'll see you next time. I know it's a relatively long video because it's much to explain, and the game is pretty fun. It gets quicker when it's when you understand the game and get going. It's a relatively quick game because there's only like 27 players. Only start with the game with 27 health points, and creatures have relatively higher attack points. There are many things that deal damage in this game, so you can get that 27 health points down very quickly. So this one, for example, the creature is only attacked 4 times. That's it. This whole game is only 4 times that the creature is attacked. And usually when the games when all players in the game know what's going on, it's easier for players to just play cards, and then the turn goes by faster. So it makes the game much quicker than it appears right now. Since I'm explaining and playing the game at the same time, it just slows down the whole process a lot. So that's it for the game. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.